walk-in closet the size of this room, right? And my favorite colors are red and blue. And all my outfits, I'm very, very particular. Almost even in an unhealthy way. Almost like an unhealthy way. I only have red and blue in my closet. So now I decide that from now on, I only want to wear blue. I only want to see blue clothes in my closet. That's all I want, right? So I start going through my closet, looking at only the blue things, only picking out the blue things. And every once in a while, I come across something red, I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to replace it with something blue. So now I'm getting to the point where it's like 80%. The more committed I am to making sure my closet, everything is only blue, it's gonna stand out very much to me as soon as I see something red. And it gives me the opportunity to make a change and get things to be more the way I want them to be. And that's where meaning comes up. We're gonna get into that in just a second, okay? So it's a natural thing that happens. That's why we train ourselves. And we do the focusing is beforehand. You want to train your unconscious mind to focus in based on the things that you tell yourself every morning, the questions that you're asking. If I say, oh, what am I excited for today? What can I be excited about? I did that before I came here. I said I'm going to have people, I visualized a room full of people, right? And I said, what can I be excited about today? And then I actually started to pray. I said, I made it real. I was like as if in conversation. I said, what am I going to be excited about today? And that's where, when I softened up, I stopped being so hard, and I said, what am I going to be excited about? And I started to have feel-good feelings start to come inside me. And I said, oh, some people are going to have big changes. Some people are going to, there's going to be all different people in all different areas of their life. Some are ready to do something. Some are just hearing it for the first time. But no matter who it is, no matter how big a seed or small a seed it is, it's a seed. And I know it's going to make positive changes in people's lives. And even if someone doesn't make a change today, just by hearing that information, something changed inside you already. So someone might struggle with something later on, maybe a year from now in their life, and all of a sudden they decide, you know what? I remember something might trigger a memory, and they say, I'm going to try something different. And so I know that what we're doing is really, I gave thanks this morning just for being given the opportunity to serve others, to be able to help people overcome their challenges, and to find simple, easy ways to do it. So really, if you start to ask these questions, if you start to think about the things, what is it that really makes me happy? What can I be excited about in my life right now? Right? How can I see more of the divine order of things? That's a big one because that helps bring growth. It starts to bring a shift in your heart when you ask that question. Right? So when you start training your minds to focus in on these different things, you're going to start seeing more of these different things. Just like you start to see that car everywhere. You're going to start to see more of the things that you're looking for. But if you're always looking at, what's one of the big things you don't want to ask yourself when you're experiencing a problem? If I'm not training myself to think and feel and to focus on the things that I want in my life so I can manifest more of those things in my life, then what would I start focusing on? The negative, who said that? Right? The negative, you start focusing on your problems more, and you start asking the big question, why? All right, why is this happening? Why does this always happen to me? Anyone ever hear say that? Ask that question? Why does this always happen to me? Why did this happen? Why? Let me tell you something. The word why allows you to go deeper with something. When you're working with meaning, the meaning that you give something, it's going to allow you to go deeper with it. So if you're focusing on a problem and you're asking why I'm having this problem and reinforcing because your subconscious mind, it's going to focus on that, right? It's going to tune into that frequency. So what's going to get attracted in your mind or in your life? Are you going to see? You're going to notice more reasons why. Oh God, see, this is why. It's because and this too. Are you moving in the direction you want to go, or are you moving away? That's right. And what's that going to do for your life? I like to hear the laughter because it means patterns are breaking as we speak. You got it?
Oh, God.
So don't ask why. What if we change it to...
I'm reading that sign up there, too.
What if we changed it... Yes. What if we changed it to how? How can I see what needs to be seen here? How can I overcome this challenge? How can I make the most of this opportunity? And then if you say it over and over again, it starts to go deeper. It starts to become more real, like as if you're talking to a person. And you start to really explain it. You start to say, wow, how can I do this? Because you start waiting for an answer to really come to you, and it starts coming. It just takes a little reinforcement. That's all it takes. You have every single thing you need within you. The answers will come from within. So when you start to do this, then, so when you start training your focus, you want to do it beforehand. Now the time is not during the day. See, I actually had a thing full of notes, and I prepared. I had a whole bunch of stuff. I may have got like 90% of the stuff, or 80% or 70%. But the point is, I know that there's a plan, right? I'm not going to read right from these things. What I did was I prepared. I aligned myself more with the principles, the major points that need to be shared. I aligned myself with, I'm practicing, I put it out there. I said, how can I be a better communicator? How can I start expressing things in a way that people start to really get it? How can and I'm starting to notice changes. I'm starting to notice growth. So so what's going on is, if you focus, I'm going to just change gears a second. If you're focusing, if you're training yourself to focus beforehand, then in the moment, if you catch yourself focusing on something bad, that's not the time to actually to try to change what's going on, because everything's happening for a purpose. Let me tell you that right now. There is a purpose. So if you catch yourself focusing on something negative, what it's doing is, as long as you're preparing every morning, and your intention, your goal for yourself is to start experiencing a more happy and productive and healthy life, then wherever I see that, remember that the example I just used with the closet, wherever I see things that are going to make me focus on negative stuff, that wisdom inside me showing me, okay, here's another area where I can grow. Here's another area where I can grow, and I'm going to become more aligned with what I want. We can judge it. We could say, oh, see, right, and start asking why, or things similar to that, and start moving away from our goal. Or we can start focusing on our meaning now. Because the meaning you give something, it doesn't elicit a feeling until you give it a meaning. I can be thinking, imagine the word flag, right? The word flag. It's just a word, an idea, concept. Until you give it a meaning, whatever meaning that has for you, some people may get a patriotic feeling. So it depends what you think of. As soon as you give it a meaning, you elicit a feeling. Right? Aruba. See, some people, and my wife's going, because the meaning that she applies to that, the meaning, when she can focus on Aruba, but what's the meaning she applies to it? The meaning she has, she thinks of the vacations we had, and the family, the good family times, the happiness, and how no one was focusing on work. We had time away from that, right? And then again, someone might have gotten married to someone where nothing worked out, and they ended up divorced, and they think of Aruba, and that's the meaning it has. Are they going to be smiling and so happy? Aruba, oh God, Aruba. But really, so the meaning you give, I want to tell you a story. There was a study done on two different brothers who grew up in a family where the father, Charlie, I think I told you the story, right? Where the father was in jail. I think he had committed a murder. And the two children, they grew up without a dad, really. He was in jail all the time. And they followed these kids to see how well they fared, both of them. And one of the kids became this really, really successful lawyer. When I say successful, he was very happy with what he was doing. He was financially well off. He was able to, he was doing very well in his life. He was very happy with how well he was doing as well, which is very important. And the thing is, they asked him, well, what was the biggest driving factor? What was the biggest driving factor? How did you get to be where you are today? And he said, well, I would have to tell you that it's all because of my father. See, my father did this, and this is how it affected my whole family. This is how it affected us growing up. I had to grow up without a dad. I had this, I had that. And I decided I wanted to help make sure that there's less of these types of crimes happening. I wanted to make sure that I worked part of the legal system. And I was driven, I was motivated. So it's because of my dad that I ended up the way I am today. Very successful. See, that's the meaning he gave it for himself. Now, here's another question to you. Because I think you might actually be able to guess the answer before I even say it. They asked the other brother. The other brother ended up being in and out of jail all the time, always having problems. They asked him, how do you think you got to be this way? And what do you think his answer was? Because of his father, right? So do you see how it can make a huge change? I remember specifically, and this is just to show you how important this is, because you need to take charge of your life. If you're not doing it if you're not taking charge, there's a lot of negativity around us. If you're not consciously and by design choosing to program your mind with the things you wanted to seek for and experience in your life, then it's going to happen unconsciously and by accident. And I tell you, there's a lot of negativity around us. So it really depends on what you choose to align yourself with. You have the opportunity to align with positive or negative. The amount of good things there are in the world around you and the amount of bad things there are around you, it's equal. It's just that there's so many people right now, what we're seeing is so many people are more aligned with negative stuff, right? And putting that energy out there. In other words, when I see somebody, even when I say putting the energy out there, people will come into my office and they'll say, I used this example last time, I said, they'll have an injury or their knee's hurting maybe, and they go, oh, my knee's killing me. And there's so many people that are so aligned with negativity, that's even socially acceptable for you to be in public and to see somebody in pain and they go, ah, this damn thing. Right? But they don't feel embarrassed to do that. But what if you were going to do that same type of energy and put it out there for something positive? Right? My daughter, yes?
I find that people will still find something negative to say about it. Because sometimes when I walk around, like if you walk around with a big Kool-Aid smile on your face, you having a great day, everything is just right. What are you smiling about? Somebody will say to you.
So your unconscious mind, would you like to do you mind taking a moment personally to, we're going to just share one tiny detail in terms of focus and what we tune into, okay? Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is 100% accurate and true. And that's what you're experiencing, and it's what we're tuning into in the universe, in our environment. Mm-hmm. And it's about how even, somehow in the mind right there, if we train ourselves, that even if, because I've experienced that too. I've worked through this. And then now I start to see more of the positive things in everyone. So what happened is, I actually stopped attracting those experiences so much. Again, very, very few. Only when I'm ready for more growth, and then something takes place. And that's what the growth is. Because when we start training ourselves to focus on positive and so on, and then something comes up, if you allow the meaning to grow for you, right? And that's simple. You just ask yourself, what are my thoughts about this? What are my feelings? What are my emotions? Really, what are my beliefs about this? That's what it all is. Because when I ask you what your thoughts are, you're going to say, when I ask you what your thoughts are, you're going to tell me what you believe your thoughts are. If I say, what are your feelings about it? You're going to tell me what you believe your feelings are. So it's really, what are my beliefs about this? And that's why it's allowing for personal growth. Because your belief, what you believe is your faith. It's about faith. So it's going to allow personal growth. What are my beliefs about this? What are my beliefs about life? And one of the beliefs that came up was, even if I start doing something, right, then, and it was a negative. So and what you want to do, you can't change your beliefs consciously from the outside in. What you do is you allow yourself to start being more at peace with where you are. Remember I said there's great soul around us? You can start to experience it more and more and more when you just soften up a little bit with love and compassion for yourself, realizing how perfect and how divine each and every single one of you are, or is, what's the proper word, and then you say, well, what are my beliefs about that? There it is. And a softening starts to take place. Change starts, the heart starts opening up, and you actually start to feel personal growth. Did you feel a little change?
I didn't have, I needed a change.
I did, for myself, when I went through this. And this is usually what happens for everyone. All it is if you reinforce that pattern, you just reinforce it. And you just ask yourself, what are my beliefs about this? It comes in waves. You're never ever given more than you can handle. I'll tell you that right now. So as soon as you're given stuff, you're having a hard time, what you want to do is ask yourself, what are my thoughts about this? What are my beliefs? What are my emotions? What am I really expecting for myself? What do I really, really expect the next time I walk down the street with a big smile on my face, right? And every time you ask that question, what happens is you're moving more towards being able to do it and attract peace, being people in perfect harmony with that. So every time you do it, all the negative stuff that's resisting it, that's causing you to attract it, brings up the negative feeling. I'll tell you right now, it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's a little uncomfortableness because you're allowing this stuff that's not aligned with what you want in your life to come to the surface. That's why there's going to be growth and healing. Growth and healing are the same thing. And then guess what? If you allow it, if you trust in the process, then all of a sudden, that part of you that's not in harmony with the things you want in your life starts to dissipate. And if you're more in harmony with the things you want in your life, do you think you're going to see more of it? So that actual negative feeling became a blessing in disguise. And when you start allowing the meaning you give things to grow and grow and grow, so you can't hear this outside in from me. I can just give you a suggestion. I'll let you know what happened to me. I continue to allow it to grow, to grow, to grow, because you're always going to place a meaning on something. And as I kept, every time I brought a limitation to my life and experience, I said, well, what are my beliefs about this? What are my thoughts? And then I allowed myself to let go of my pride, my judgments about it. I allowed it to soften up. I didn't choose new judgments to replace it. I said, whatever it is, I know if I'm allowing more wisdom to flow through me, if I'm allowing myself to be, I'm allowing that life force within me to be a partner with me in my life, then whatever I'm going to feel about this tomorrow might be different. So I wasn't so attached to my opinions. I said, okay, I might feel different about this next week, next month, next year. I'm going to be a little wiser. I hope so. All right? So I said, whatever I believe about it might be different. And I just allowed the space for growth. And all of a sudden, that warmth, that I started to feeling transformation. The way I felt about it next time was different, which means my beliefs about it were different. The meaning I was applying to it was different. Sometimes you'll have an epiphany, and the words you use to define your beliefs about something will be completely different then. Sometimes it'll be the same words, but a different feeling associated. The meaning you have for those words is changed. And so what happens is the meaning can grow. Eventually, I realize the meaning that I have for everything right now is everything that's happening to you. It's God's grace in disguise when it's a negative experience. Because here's how I came up with that meaning that I'm applying to things now. Because every time I allowed that myself to bring a shift and allowed personal growth, it actually moved me closer to all my goals. Every time I did that. So I started to prepare my morning, ask the questions I want, align myself with the questions that I want to see more of in my life. What am I going to see that's going to help me do this? What am I going to hear? How am I going to see more? What am I going to see today that's going to show me that I'm being more? This is one that you want to write down, okay? This is one that everyone needs to do because it's going to help you. You're going to start using this thing for outside in stuff. What am I going to see today that's showing me that I'm moving in the directions of what I want? What am I going to experience in my life today that's showing me that I'm healing, that's showing me that I'm getting exactly what I need to get? But then, here's the most important one, because it goes back to inside out. What am I going to see in my life today that's showing me that I'm loving and appreciating myself even more, even with all the stresses? And you'll see a calming feeling come across. You'll feel blood pressure start to come down. What am I going to see in my life today? What am I going to experience today, whether it comes through something I see, hear, feel, maybe an epiphany? But what is it? What am I really going to see? When you're asking questions, someone here said, really, you're talking to God, and it's prayer. But it's becoming more real, and you're expecting a change because you're learning how it works and how your brain's involved, and you start to realize this isn't just an idea, it's real. So what am I going to experience in my life today that lets me see that? And here you go. So you have your focus, just to kind of summarize certain things up again, your focus, which is controlled by the things you're constantly telling yourself and the questions you're asking, the meaning that you give it, which is easily, when you're experiencing something negative, it's happening for a purpose. Allow yourself to grow, and then the next one you say, how can I experience more of what I do want? Because without experiencing, I can tell you this right now, I've worked with a lot of patients over the years, I'm up to over 20,000 people, and it's very, very obvious to see that, a lot of times people have things that they're suffering from, and they will not be motivated to make a change unless they suffer a little bit more sometimes. Do you agree?
They gotta bottom out.
You get it? So there's a purpose. So in their heart and in their mind, what they're asking for, what they're praying for, what they really, really want, whether in their heart is, oh, I want this. I wish I could have this in my life. But they don't have the motivation to actually take the step to do it, or to make sure that they prepare in the morning for what they want. And that's why the more I'm growing, the more I'm seeing how simple life is, how easy it is, how blessed we are. Because if you don't have to think overwhelmed. You don't have to think, oh, I have to do all this stuff. Just take one action step. Take our cell phone. Everyone should do this right now. If you have a cell phone that has an alarm on it, I've done this with some of my patients. You go ahead, yes. And how did it make you feel?
Better.
Better? Did it make any changes for you just by doing that one thing?
I guess it's just making my symptoms progress because it's bringing it more up to the surface.
Okay. And Stephanie? You did it too? The alarm on your phone? The alarm. Did you set an alarm on your phone?
I know, but you told me to write it with every time there's a solution.
And how did that make you feel every time it came up? that made you giggle. All right, we talked about laughter helping to your stress levels to go down. Okay.
I didn't understand. What was she supposed to do with the alarm?
What you want to do is take an alarm, take any right now on these lists. Can I see this for a second? There's just ideas of different affirmations, things you can align yourself with. But this is just an idea to get you started.
Okay.
The real best way to find out what affirmations you want is to hear something that someone else is saying that you like, and add it to yourself. You hear somebody say something. One of my friends actually went around and said, it's an affirmation, okay? One of my friends actually went around and he used to always just do so well in school, and other kids would sometimes, someone asked him, you know, how do you always just remember everything? He said, oh, I have a photographic memory. And it just came so natural to him because he always just, that's how he always aligned himself with. He just always believed that. He always believed that. And you know what? He retained like 90% of the stuff. He would just sit in class, didn't even have to study much, and he would get A's. Because he was so congruent with that, and he believed that so much, and he would experience it that he had more access to his memories whenever he needed it. When he heard something the first time, he was already programmed his neurology that like if you read something over like 15 times to yourself, then took a break, then did another 15 times to yourself, and then took a break, and that level of now it's reinforced. He had that feeling from the first time he would hear it, he would start doing it, or the second time, he would just hear it, because he was, in his mind, when he started doing that for himself, he had associations. Well, how can I get this to happen? How can I start to experience this more? And then as he was hearing it, I'll tell you how he did it, as he was hearing it, he started allowing pictures in his mind to come in relationship to what he was hearing, and it would associate to what he already knows, and he would see similarities, and it would just start to sink in deeper and deeper and deeper, so that the very first time he heard it, he retained it. And if he wanted to actually make sure he remembered to use or bring out some information that he just heard for the first time in a specific situation in his life, he allowed himself to visualize himself, when I get to that point in my life, I'm going to remember this story. And he just told that to himself. And guess what happened? 89% of the time it would happen. And he goes, oh, you know what? I heard this story the other day. Let me tell you. So, and what's that called? Preparation. He prepared. We're going to just, after the end, we're going to do 4 more questions, okay? So, there's the focus. There's the meaning that we give to things, right? And then there's your physiology. All these things go into your feelings. Because we're all identifying with the physical body, right? We all have a nice body. There's chemicals, there's endorphins, there's physical things going on. You have a nervous system which allows you to feel and experience the life that you're experiencing. So one of the fastest and easiest ways to bring out a change in how you feel, if you're feeling stressed, is through your breathing. So we talked about questions, preparing for your day, right? We talked about laughter. Right? There was actually a doctor. I just actually heard. Does anyone here know who Joel Osteen is?
Oh, I love him.
Okay, I heard him tell a story about a woman who went to the doctor, and she was on depression medication, and she was very sick. She had a lot of stuff going on, and she was feeling down and kind of lonely. And he prescribed to her. He's a medical doctor. He said, I'm going to give you this prescription. I want you to find as many funny things that you can do. Funny movies, get together with friends and watch as many as you can. I want you to laugh as much as you can. I want you to do things that are going to make you laugh, make you have fun. And he told her to do this. When she came in several months later for another doctor's visit, guess what? She came into that office with a big smile on her face, one of the smiles that goes from like ear to ear. She had that, the biggest thing that he noticed, he said there was a sparkle in her eye. She felt good about herself. Her esteem went up, everything went up. Guess what? She was off her medications. She decided she didn't want to take her depression medications anymore. And when he said, how are you doing today? She said, Doc, I feel really good. Isn't that all we want for our patients is that, right? For you guys to not just feel good, but to stay feeling good. And that's why it's important to be healthy, to learn how to manage your stress levels. Not just manage it, but to take a bad stress and turn it into a good stress. Wow. Because that's going to move you towards all the goals that you have in your life. Every goal that you want, everything that you're setting for yourself, if you're in tune with it. I teach people how to remove interference to your nerves so your body works better by letting that wisdom be expressed more. And then you take that, and on top of it, you're training yourself more. You're tuning into the things you want more. You're practicing the physiology. You do certain breathing exercises. I'll give you 2 easy ones today. You start to you're actually allowing personal growth. When the difficult time comes, you ask, what's the purpose in this? You'll see growth take place, and you'll start attracting it less and less and less. And you put all these things together, and guess what? That's a recipe for success. Because what you just did is instead of living your whole life from outside in, you flipped it. You started recognizing that all the power to accomplish everything you need in your life is inside you already. And it's inside out. That's the best part. And all you did was start taking actions to live a life in accordance with that. That's it. That's all you did. So those are the things. So what are some of the things that we can apply in our life today? What's something that I can start tonight or tomorrow morning? What's something that you can start focusing? How are you going to do that?
That's up to you. What do you think about?
Right? The questions. So one of the best things I noticed as I've worked through this, I did the workshop last week and last month, and then I got to talk to people about it. One of the things that you could do is when you think of something that you really like or you want, write it down somewhere. Type it into your phone. Do something. Make it, because as soon as there's it's something I heard once called a 10-second rule, and I was listening to some success person talk, and this was a business thing, but it applies to everything. We get great ideas all the time coming to us. A lot of times we're not tuned into that frequency, so they just bounce off. Great ideas are coming to us all the time. If you act on that, there's a 10-second rule. If you take within the first 10 seconds that you get a great idea, if you act on it in some way, shape, or form, no matter how big or small, maybe even it's just writing it down so that you know you can act on it later. That's an action. If you don't act on it within the first 10 seconds, 90% of the time you're never going to act on it at all. Has anyone here experienced that? Some head shaking, right? Okay. So write it down. So as soon as you start doing that, you get a good idea, write it down. Next morning, you have it put it on your night table. Next morning when you wake up, you read it to yourself. You read it to yourself. I've been experiencing this more and more and more over, especially in the last couple of weeks, because it's just like it's a snowball effect. I started preparing even more and more and more for my day, and a big transformation took place in my heart. That last night I set a new thing for myself. And instead of I forgot what message I had, something like one of these statements on here. You know, what am I going to say? Oh, I'm excited about this. And I changed it, and it just said, rejoice, the kingdom of God is at hand. That's what I put on my alarm. When I woke up this morning, I saw it. And it reminded me, because as I prepared for my day, it became more like prayer. I'm really just saying, I'm really talking and communicating with my Creator, my Source, and I'm saying, what am I going to see today? What am I going to hear today? And I felt the energy changing, and I'm noticing more and more and more things. And I knew that today, I'm experiencing even more. Right now, I'm loving it. You can tell I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm loving being here with you. I'm loving seeing the changes. I love to see the smiles in your faces. Right? And what's going on is what I've been asking for is happening. And I'm really seeing it start to manifest more and more in my life. I'm starting to feel that connection more with my Creator, my Source. I'm recognizing that the source of all happiness, all peace, all abundance, all prosperity, all success is from inside out. That presence is always with me. And that's what started to happen. That's what started to happen. So really, no matter where you're starting from, no matter what you feel, you don't have to take my affirmations. All you have to do is start with what feels comfortable to you. What you like. I told you the best place to start is if you hear somebody say something, if you like it. See, you may have liked that one, what I just said. Use it. If you don't like it, don't use it. Use something that you like, because I already know that you're taken care of. I've already seen how the universe is working. You'll follow along. There's a purpose for each person. There's a meaning for everything. And whatever resonates with you, that's what you want to use. And the more you get involved in making a shift, there's a second best way to pick an affirmation for yourself personally. Take something that you catch yourself saying negative about yourself, that you don't want it to be like that anymore, and flip it. So if you catch yourself saying, oh, I'm not good enough, what's the affirmation going to be? I'm perfect just the way I am. Declare it. Make a declaration to yourself. Because I want you to recognize that you're not changing yourself. You're not forcing that change to take place. If you think that you're doing that, you're adding more stress to yourself. I'm perfect, I'm perfect, I'm perfect. And if you didn't allow growth to take place and you're not seeing it yet, it's going to bring more stress and tension. So here's how I want you to understand what an affirmation is. It's taking your compass, or whatever's pointing you in direction in life, and it's pointing it in the direction of what you want. That's it. So when you say, I'm perfect just the way I am, you're taking your compass, you're pointing in that direction, and then you wait. And then you reinforce it. How do I know that? Why? Well, what am I going to see today? If you don't know it, you just say, well, what am I going to see today in my life? I know, I'm saying that this is what I choose for myself. this is where I choose to move in that direction. So I'm going to start seeing stuff in my life. If I don't see it today, I'll see it tomorrow. If I don't see it tomorrow, I'll see it next week. If I don't see it, what am I going to start seeing? And the more you just trust and let go and you start aligning yourself with it, you're going to start seeing it more and more and more. Yes?
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
That might help people? I have been reading a lot about this incantation business for like last year or so. And I wasn't getting it.
Incantation?
Yeah, that's the last section.
And incantations, can I take a second? The difference between affirmation and incantation is what I actually want to take it to. An incantation is when you actually put your whole body into it, your expressions into it, your emotions into it, right? So like that person I said it with the knee, and I said, oh my God, my knee's killing me. So I tell that person, okay, listen, why don't you say, my knee's healing? So they're going from, oh my God, my knee's killing me, right? And then, my knee's healing, right? So that's what, I said, no, put the same energy into it, put the same affirmation into it, right? When I have my little girls growing up the way I want her to go, she comes up to me, I'm gonna go home after this, and she's gonna say, Daddy, I missed you so much. I look at her and I tell her, Daddy, I love everything about you, I love you so much, and that's an incantation. I get my emotions, my body involved. You start to feel that energy go through your whole body, you'll start attracting things to your life faster. Because you're becoming more congruent with it, yes. Okay. So the physiology, I want to get two things out for as far as breathing wise that you can do. Let me go ahead, finish.
Then last week I was looking at my mother, who's a devout Catholic, and I realized for her the Hail Mary and the Our Father is an incantation. And if you can understand this page like that, then you'll get this.
Thank you very much. And it's kind of like, so look, do you see how I just put it into the universe? I said, well, what am I going to see that showed me that I'm on the right path and I'm on the right track, right? And I just saw the opposite. So here I am, I had this epiphany, and I said, all these affirmations are really, it's prayer. And then, so how can I see that I'm on the right track? Right? And what do I attract? Somebody telling me that, well, somebody who's been praying, realizes that that's an incantation. And it went back and forth, and I said, okay, good. It's just kind of a little reinforcement for me to show me, okay, all right, this is good. So now with the physiology, really quick, I want everyone to take what's called a 4x4. You've done this before. I did it today. I did it before when I was up front. I do it many times. You have 1,000 things in your mind, and you're not sure where to get started. Sometimes in the very beginning, we already said that it's going to be a little bit more difficult in the beginning. That's what we usually see because it hasn't been reinforced yet. So the first thing you do, program yourself with this, the breathing. The 4x4. Everyone take 4 short breaths into your nose like this. And then 4 out through your mouth. Good. Ready? 4 in. Good. Keep going. Another cycle. That's good. Good. And you want to hear something even more awesome? Because about the way we're all connected energetically. If we even did it in a synchronized way, you'd feel an even more unified, peaceful energy in the room. I don't know if anyone's ever done any workshops or things where we had everyone do something together, or a mantra or some type of chant. You start to feel the whole energy of the room all resonate. Everyone's feeling the same feelings. So anyway, did anyone here feel a change in how they were feeling, or a slight, subtle shift? Anyone feel a subtle shift? Yes? 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 You did too? You did too? Okay. The more you start to do it, the more you'll start to feel a change. One of the fastest and easiest ways is to do a breathing exercise like that. And another one, deep breathing. You just take a deep breath in through your nose. Everyone in at the same time. Follow my hand. And out.